There we go. If you are new here, hi, my name is Whitney and I help you DIY a cozy home with all things home, DIY home renovations, DIY home decor, home product review, garden content, all that good jazz. Today, we're doing some DIYs and I'm so excited about these. I can't wait to just dive right in and get some of these done. So over on TikTok, there's a trend going around called coastal grandmother, and it's a term that's coined by this girl named Lex Nicoletta. I will have her TikTok profile and videos linked down below so you can check her out. She explains this to perfection. It is such a vibe. I'm here for it. I am definitely a coastal grandmother. So basically she's saying it's more of a lifestyle, not necessarily a trend. So think Diane Keaton's character in Something's Gotta Give. That is like the pinnacle OG of coastal grandmother. She also references Oprah as like a real life coastal grandmother, and I totally agree. So it's basically someone who likes gardening, cooking, going to the farmer's market, hosting guests, making their house cozy and warm and inviting. Is that not me, you guys? Lex says that you don't have to live near the beach and you don't have to be a grandmother to bring those vibes into your house. She also says you don't have to be a 1%er, which I am definitely not, to bring those like sophisticated, elegant, rich, fancy, wealthy vibes into your home. So we're gonna do the DIY budget version of some of these items to bring that feeling into our homes so we can get that coastal grandma vibe going on. So let's dive into the first DIY, you guys. Look at this! It's friggin' huge. Oh my God. It is empty. I did not drink it. It's just empty. I found this and I thought we could make something really fun out of it. Let's pop this shamps and get going. Every coastal grandmother has to have some sort of chinoiserie vase, like a ginger jar. So we are going to decoupage our own. Typically owning 18th century chinoiserie was a symbol of being wealthy and well-traveled. What a perfect way to add some of that 1%er lifestyle into our homes, right? So typically chinoiserie is crisp white and deep navy blues, but I'm going to be using this heirloom white because it's one of my favorite white spray paints. Then I'm going to show you how we're going to print out our own images on tissue paper that we can decoupage using Mod Podge on top of this vase. So I don't really know what happened with my spray paint. It kind of came out in these clumpies. I don't hate it. It actually looks really cool, but I think we might need to sand these bumps down in order for the rest of our project to work. Ugh. If you have texture in your spray paint that you don't want, it's an easy fix. You just take some fine grit sandpaper and sand it down. Easy peasy, and all of that texture is gone, but the paint is still there. It's time to figure out what we're gonna use for decoupage artwork. I'm gonna be printing mine out onto tissue paper and using tissue paper. You can also use napkins, or you can use other decoupaging materials, but if you are going to be printing on a tissue paper, let me show you how to do it. So you're just going to piece of paper. You can do cardstock or you can do regular printer paper, and then you're going to take tissue paper and cut it down to size. We're going to cut it just a little bit smaller than 8.5 by 11. And now that we have our tissue paper cut to size, we're just gonna tape it on down. Along the edge that feeds into your printer, you're gonna wanna make sure you tape down this whole edge. Now, if you're looking for a full tutorial on where I find all of my artwork for decoupaging, I will link below a couple of videos I did, and you can get a more in-depth tutorial on how to find artwork and print out artwork for decoupaging projects. So now that we have our tissue paper taped on, the full edge that feeds into the printer is taped on, we can print out our artwork. Now I'm just kind of rough cutting out my images. You could go in super detailed if you want, but that makes this way harder to work with. And the tissue paper is so thin that once we get it Mod Podged on there, you're not really gonna see it because it's gonna be on a white background. Now, if you are printing out your own images, you're gonna wanna let these dry for a good 24 hours or the ink is gonna smear on you and it's gonna be a big old mess. My pieces are cut out and fully dried. Now it is time to start working on our vase. So this is the kind of the design I have in mind right now. And we're gonna do this bird thing kind of in the middle. These flower things on the bottom to kind of finish off the bird. I'm thinking one of these over here. Top of the neck is gonna mirror the bottom with this, and then maybe some flowers coming down. So I'm just gonna paint on a little thin layer of Mod Podge. Okay, get it gently laid on there. You're gonna take a piece of cellophane and squish it down. Then this way you can rub out all of the bubbles and you won't tear your tissue paper. Once it is fully dry, you're going to add a layer of Mod Podge on top. For this, I'm using gloss Mod Podge, so it kind of looks like a finished ceramic. This next project is going to be the easiest thing you will ever do. This is a bamboo shade that I had in my old apartment, and it doesn't fit anywhere. It doesn't fit in this house anywhere or the new apartment. So it's kind of broken. It doesn't really work that well anyway. So instead of donating it, we are going to turn it into some coastal grandmother placemats. So I'm just taking a placemat that I already own, kind of putting it to size. So I'm going to cut right between these two cord areas. I cut a strip of the blind, the rest is over here. I tied off the bottom. So I'm going to cut up here about 2.5 inches so I have enough of this cording so I can tie off at my end point. If you cut it too close, you're not going to have enough cording to work with to make little knots. Okay, so then you're just going to start taking the extra bamboo slats out until you get to the height that you want. And then you're just gonna tie these into knots. You just take the top strand and the two bottom strands and double knot them. And then I would start with the two outside ones so these don't start to come apart on you. And once you have all of your knots done, you can just trim your little tails. If you want to put a little bead of glue here to keep those knots secure, you can. But I'm just gonna trim my little tails. And there we go. We have a placemat. And you can just roll them up when you're not using them. So cute. I'm using this Target bag as a template. I'm leaving some seam allowance over here, and we're gonna cut over here to leave some seam allowance as well. There's also gonna be a couple inches of seam allowance up here. Now I have folded the fabric at the bottom, so we're not gonna have a seam right here. We're just gonna have a seam here, and we're gonna hem the top with our straps in it. So we have our bag cut out. This is the bottom. Now, if you are a sewer, if you have a sewing machine, you're just gonna stitch along the two sides here with the right sides facing together. I'm gonna show you guys how to use hot glue just in case you don't have access to a sewing machine. So what you're gonna want to do is just put a little bead of hot glue all the way down your seam. press it together and try to make your glue flat. Like, don't let it sit up in its beaded form. Just kind of press it down so it sits flat. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to make straps. If you are a sewer, you can cut strips and sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then turn this inside out, and these will be your straps. But if you don't have access to a sewing machine, you can cut 3 long strips and we can just braid them. We're going to gather all of our ends and we're going to glue one right on top of another. Now it's important that you start off with a flat piece so we have a flat place to attach to the inside of our bag. So start off with a little flat piece and then we're going to braid this up. Make sure you keep a little flat piece on the end. So now we have our bags still right sides facing each other. We're gonna turn over the top edge and create a little hem, and we're just gonna glue that down. If you have a sewing machine, you're gonna sew this down. You could do a 1/2 inch and then another 1/2 inch with a stitch to have it be a clean finish. Now we have our straps. We're going to take one strap and glue one strap to each side.